Hello everyone. Something interesting snuck into release 129 for Nintex Workflow Cloud this week, and it's the Salesforce lookup, or otherwise the query action turned into a data source lookup. So I thought I would go through the motions, the prerequisites that's required, and then we'll take a look at what the actual control on the form looks like in real life. So without further ado, let's head to the release notes first and foremost. Up on help.nintex.com, really good place to come and have a look around if you're interested in the new connectors or any of the new information that's hit the ground for Workflow Cloud and the other products. Release 129 popped out June 28th, and all the way down here, the query records operation has been made available as a data source and can now be used in the data lookup control on a form. Pretty cool. So let's have a look at what we need in order to get that working. This is important if you're using Salesforce, but if you're not using Salesforce, take a look at the other connectors that are up on help.nintex.com, as most of them are now available as data source lookups as well. All right, welcome to Nintex Workflow Cloud. The first thing I'm going to need before I can use my data lookup is a connection to Salesforce. I'm going to use this Salesforce environment here, so I'm going to create a connection. We go to Connections, we add a new connection. The connection that I'm interested in is for Salesforce. Click on Connect. That's going to bring up a pop-up to authenticate to an underlying Salesforce environment. Give that connection a name using our Cephalo environment and pop in the endpoint address. Connect. It's then going to ask you to provide the credentials to connect to that Salesforce environment. I'm going to use Azure AD here, the Richard Rowe account, and that should connect straight through. I'm already logged in, so I'm saving myself a little bit of time by doing that. Nice and easy. Who am I going to share this connection with? Really important for you administrators out there, who gets access to use that in their workflows. And my connection is now live. Next up, I need a data source. In order to use the data lookup control, you need a data source. So we're going to create a data source to look up a specific object or entity within Salesforce. I'm going to add a data source, give this data source a name. I'm going to use accounts as an example. I'm going to copy and paste that for the description. The connector is the underlying, so that is the Cephalo Salesforce or Salesforce. And the operation is dependent on what the underlying connection allows. For the most part, if you're using a data lookup, it's going to be query. That will then have a look at further configuration. What's the connection that we need to use? What's the authentication that's been provided? In this instance, it's the one I just created, Cephalo Salesforce. What is the object that I want to pull back? What am I pulling back from Salesforce? Contacts, cases, leads, opportunities, or accounts, as I have named the data source. Maximum number of records. Which fields do you want to bring back as part of the actual lookup? Go with account name. You can have multiple on there, and then you can use the condition and the filtering to sort through those returned queries. How do you want to sort? And then save that data source. I'm not going to put a sort on this, so it's going to be a little bit jumbled up when it comes through from the lookup. Who am I sharing the data source with? And I'm now ready to create that workflow. I'm not going to spend too much time on configuring actions and so on. I just want to show you what this new capability can do. Data lookups are available for both public anonymous forms and also the authenticated forms. And I'm going to select my Nintex to push this one up to. Let's design the form. Drag in my data lookup control. Now, I'm not going to add any other controls here. I'll leave that up to you for how you want to configure your particular forms to your particular use cases. Give this control a name. Configure the data source. Choose my data source. We just created it. It's my Cephalo Salesforce accounts. So I'm going to do a little bit of introspection and pull back the available fields and so on. Any conditions that I would like to apply to the return on query of those results, any sort that I want to apply to that as well. Let's go ascending, or maybe even, ascending account name. I'm finished with my config, so back to complete the configuration. What do I want my option label to be? So what's the actual label coming back from that object, and what's the value? Select those two. Is it required? Is it visible? These are up to you as to how you want to configure your final form. Preview that form in the designer. That's going to go away and do a little bit of that lookup for me. It's going to sort those alphabetically. And now I have lots of ABC Corp because this is a lovely test environment. But if I open up my Salesforce and pop to my accounts, you can see I've got ABC Corp numerous times in there. We've got a lot of tests in there. But essentially, that's how we hook up our data source lookup to our Nintex Workflow Cloud Forms. Let us know how you're using this new capability. Let us know if you found that useful. Thanks very much for watching. Enjoy.